Am I the jerk for getting up from my chair in the middle of Christmas dinner and shouting, "Shut the F up about my body," in response to my husband's observation? So, ever since I had my son months ago, my husband has started making indirect comments about my body. He never says any hurtful words, but I find his observations, as he calls it, hurtful. For example, he'd see me wearing an old top and say, "Oh, that top used to look good on you but not anymore though." Or when he looks at my waist and says, "Wow, didn't know your waist could get this wide." Basically passive stuff that I tried to ignore till it extended to friends and family. For your information, this went on for months and months and months. We went to Christmas celebration at his family's home. My sister-in-law complimented my floral maxi dress and my husband said, "I agree, it looks nice on you. Though I have to admit that your waist could get smaller than this." Awkward silence took over. I was absolutely fuming and this was my last straw. So I got up from my chair in the middle of dinner and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Shut the F up about my body." He was absolutely speechless as his family stared while some others tried to get me to calm down, but situation got more tense and dinner ended up being cut short and my husband storming off to his friend's place to spend the night upon leaving a very nasty text saying I embarrassed him and made a scene over an observation he made. He called me childish and told me to get therapy for my insecurities, instead of verbally abusing him and scaring his family. Now I feel like an absolute idiot jerk and like I ruined Christmas for him and everybody with my oversensitivity. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. For example, he'd see me wearing an old top and say, "Oh, that top used to look good on you but not anymore though." Or when he looks at my waist and says, "Wow, didn't know your waist could get this wide." This is not passive-aggressive and it is not an observation. It is degrading, humiliating and abusive. He's gaslighting you. The fact the comment during Christmas dinner was met with awkward silence shows that people see he is being a jerk to you. He embarrassed himself and started the scene. You simply had enough of his BS and stood up for yourself. Good for you. Please save yourself and your child from this toxic relationship. My concern is for what he is going to say to their child or children. Growing up with a father like that, the kid is going to be on the pathway to an ADOP, not the jerk. But you really need to consider the best course of action for you and your child. This is not a healthy environment. Your husband doesn't matter. His family certainly doesn't matter. All that matters is you and your child. Am I the jerk for cancelling Mother's Day celebration that I arranged for my wife after hearing what she told my son? I, male 37, have a 13-year-old son. I was a widower when I met my now wife. She has a 16-year-old daughter from another relationship. The family is often on pretty good terms. My son is the quiet one in the house. He keeps to himself a lot but not to the point of it being concerning. My wife and stepdaughter are the complete opposite. They both encourage him to be outgoing and share activities and join gatherings with extended family. My son complained about having to be forced out of his comfort zone and having his need for space invalidated. I spoke to both my wife and stepdaughter and asked them to give him space and freedom to spend his time however he wanted. They apologized and promised to let him be. As Mother's Day was approaching, I wanted to throw my wife a surprise Mother's Day celebration. It was no longer a surprise because my stepdaughter gave her the heads so she could prepare. Yesterday I got off work earlier than usual to get final arrangements done. We planned to celebrate at the restaurant and invited her family there. I had the key and while I was entering the house through the front door I overheard my wife and stepdaughter talking to my son. My wife was asking my son if he could convince me to let him stay home and not go with them to the restaurant to celebrate. I paused and decided to keep listening. My son said why and she told him that his introverted and socially inept attitude will make her family uncomfortable and will ruin the mood. He promised her that he'd be well behaved and would try to interact and socialize with everyone, but she said that she wasn't buying it. He kept reassuring her but she snapped and told him that technically, she's not his mum, so she didn't get why he wanted to celebrate Mother's Day with her so badly. My stepdaughter threw some, "I don't remember," backhanded comment and then both of them were shocked to see me standing there. Both were staring without saying anything. I told my son and his stepsister to go to their rooms, then told my wife that the celebration was off, cancelled. She tried to argue, asking why repeatedly, and I told her why. She tried to explain that she didn't mean it like that and that I only heard part of the conversation but not all of it. I told her I was done arguing and the decision was already made. She yelled, asking what she was going to tell her family, and said that I was making a tremendous mistake towards her. I ignored her while she kept throwing tantrum after tantrum. Early this morning she took my stepdaughter and went to stay with her folks. Not a single call or text from her so far. Situation is full of tension. I'm upset still but more hurt to be honest. I mean yes I did say I was going to have this celebration but I thought that what she said to my son was too harsh to ignore. Not the jerk. Guarantee they have done this before. Circle the wagons, protect your son. Such disgusting abuse from your wife upon your son. To make it even worse, she is raising her daughter to be cruel and exclusionary. Your son deserves so much better. OP's response, from the looks of it. I'm afraid they have, especially my wife. I know her, she can be harsh sometimes. Another Redditor writes, please don't downplay what she did to rationalize staying with her and make your own life easier. You caught her treating your son bad. She has probably been doing this behind your back for some time. Do not kid yourself into thinking he would tell you if she had been doing this long term. You are all he has in the world, and his stepmother has already indicated that she would remove him from the family if she had her choice because he's not entertaining enough for her. He is probably terrified you secretly feel the same because you choose this woman to fill the mother role for him. Protect your son. He was there first and needs to be your first priority in every way. That poor child. My heart aches for him. Am I the jerk for not sleeping in the bed with my wife and dog? I, 34 male, travel a lot for work, often 2 to 3 weeks at a time. My children are of school age so my wife, 35, has recently gotten a Cocker Spaniel dog to keep her company while everyone is away during the day. I'm pretty indifferent about dogs, don't love or hate them but my one rule is that I don't want them in our bed. I came home early from a trip a few nights ago to surprise my wife and I found her and the dog laid out across the bed sleeping. Instead of waking her up, I just slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, I surprised her and the kids with breakfast and let my wife know how I intended to surprise her the night before but saw she was in the bed with the dog. She admitted she always lets the dog sleep with her while I'm away and just washes the sheets and comfort her the night before I'm supposed to be home so I will never know. Except now I know and I don't want to sleep in that bed until she promises she won't have the dog in it anymore even while I'm away. Am I the jerk? So you no longer will sleep in that bed. How will that be different than what is already happening? You are not there. You are working. Your wife is basically a single mother who has someone giving her money to pay the bills. I would be happy that she got a dog and was sleeping with a dog rather than a boyfriend. Keep pushing it, and your marriage will implode. You're the jerk. This is one of those times where you need to decide if the price of being right is worth it. You leave your school-age kids and wife alone for weeks. She manages it all. Is she coping by drinking, cheating, or doing drugs? No, she is coping by having a dog keep her company, and she respects your boundaries enough to wash the sheets before you are home. You could choose to be upset and righteous, or you could choose to empathize that she is lonely and overwhelmed, and you are lucky to have a wife who is patient with your work schedule. Take her out to dinner and kick the dog out of bed for the night, and chill. Am I the jerk for saying it's my wife's fault that my slacks didn't get packed for my work trip? Hi, first time poster. My wife, 30 female, and I, 31 male, have been married for about 7 years now. I decided to go on a last-minute work trip which caused me to have to book flights, hotel, etc. late at night and then fly out the next day. I needed new work slacks for the trip since I've primarily been working from home in my current company, so we had to make a late-night run to the local Walmart to get a few pairs. We also got some button-up shirts. When we got home I had some stuff to finish up with the planning so I asked my wife to wash my new clothes so that my shirts weren't so wrinkly. I handed her the shirts to wash separately and put the pants in the dirty laundry. While they washed she packed my suitcase and then added the shirts when they were done. When it came time to leave, I verified everything was packed by asking her if she packed my pants. She said yes. Due to late the next night when I arrive at my hotel and my slacks aren't in only my brown khakis and grey khakis. I called her pretty upset asking where my slacks were. She got defensive and told me she thought she packed all my clothes. I had laid them out on the bed besides the stuff to be washed, and told me they should be in there. I made her check the laundry room to be sure and she looked around the whole house before finding them in our bedroom laundry basket unwashed. I repeated a few times how I was frustrated that she hadn't packed them but had told me that she did. She said she didn't realize by pants, I meant my slacks and that she was busy trying to do other stuff and just had a memory of packing some pants with all the other things I had laid out. She also said it was unreasonable for me to be upset with her when they are my pants and she didn't think she was expected to do a whole second load of laundry at midnight. In the end she attempted to make me feel better by saying that it would be okay and my work would understand that sometimes things get a bit hectic with packing and traveling last minute, and I can buy more in the evening hopefully. I feel kind of bad cause I could tell she was frustrated with me for blaming her, but in my defense I did ask her if she had packed everything. You're the jerk. You're a grown adult and should be doing your own packing and laundry. It is your responsibility to check that all the items were in the suitcase before leaving. I'm also not sure why you put the clothes in a dirty garment hamper, as the only reason they would have been discovered is if your wife decided in the middle of the chaos of your departure to put a load of laundry on. If you wanted these specific items washed at once, they should have been in the direct vicinity of the washing machine, or you should have put them on yourself. Putting washing on takes all of a minute. Sometimes, I read the title and form an opinion and am proven wrong by the actual post. This was not one of those times. You're the jerk and your wife deserves an apology and probably a better husband. Update from OP. I accept that I'm the jerk and have apologized to my wife. She responded graciously and told me she knows a lot of it was just my stress from traveling and worrying about work. We are good now and I promise to do better in the future. Thanks to everyone who engaged with me civilly in the comments. I showed my wife the post and she wants to say that she is a little surprised at how angry everyone else was. She says she was frustrated but knew it's not a pattern, especially some individual messages that some very angry people decided to send me. Am I the jerk for barring my husband from the bedroom tonight? So here is the situation. Me, nurse, working 50-ish hours a week in pediatric ICU. Cry at least once a week because that crap is hard. My salary pays our bills. All of them. Husband, 25, has a degree but isn't looking for a job. Works 2 days a week at the grocery store. Spends most of his time playing League of Legends. BTW all events here are in accordance with COVID legislation. Today was supposed to be a good day. I had been begging my husband to swap his Saturday shift to literally anything else so that we could have days off together. We haven't had a weekend together since our wedding, 18 months ago. Today was supposed to be our first Saturday off together. We were going to go to an animal sanctuary. He starts the day by going to breakfast with his best mate, leaving before I even wake up. I wake up around 9 and realize he is not home. Call him. He says he's helping his mate set up some lights and that the weather is too rainy for the animal sanctuary anyway. He gets home at 1ish, lies around, plays some video games, promising we would cook dinner together tonight. Leaves again at 5 to help the same mate with something else. I go grocery shopping. I don't drive because of medical issues, but I walk there and back in the rain. I get home, realize I've left my keys inside. Call husband, knowing he's 5 minutes away. He says he will leave in a minute. I sit in the rain and the cold, southern hemisphere. 45 minutes later, I call again. He hasn't left yet. He finally agrees to come and let me in the house, so he drives up, presses the clicker to let me in the garage and leaves again. At 10, I call to see where he is. His friend answers. Says he is driving out to do something an hour away. It's 10:30. I am going to bed. I have sent him a text that I am upset and don't want to speak to him tonight and would rather he left me alone. As far as I am concerned, if he can't value me more than his best mate on the first day off he and I have shared in a year and a half, he can go sleep in his bed instead. BTW, his friend doesn't work, so they hang out all the time when I am at work. He is going to be upset, and he is gonna tell his mate and his mate is going to tell him I'm being a jerk. Am I the jerk? Adding some info, I am 26. We weren't always like this. I don't know what changed. I'm fairly confident he's not having an affair. And I fully intend on talking this through, but at a time that isn't 4 a.m. Also the crying, sick babies sometimes make me sad, and I love all my patients. That's why I cry. And I don't mean hours of sobbing. I mean stepping into a supplely closet to take a moment before getting back to work. Also thank you for your kindness. I was expecting maybe 5 replies. I am trying to respond as much as I can. But there are a lot of you. Not the jerk. This is one of those scenarios where I can't even say you need to communicate with him, because it's so blatantly fucking obvious what he did wrong. He doesn't value your time together at all. Why are you still with this man? He does not care about you. In fact, he's more concerned about this friend than he is you. He is working 2 days a week and plays video games the rest of the week? I'd love to hear an explanation for the logic there. Does he do chores? Run errands? Anything to help his partner's day be a bit easier? Does he even enjoy being around you? Not the jerk. Am I the jerk for going into work on my wife's day in the office? My wife and I primarily both work from home. I'm a manager and she works in admin, operations. My schedule is mostly flexible, but I have to go into the office 2 to 3 times a week. My wife has a set schedule to go into the office of once a month. We have 2 small kids that we need to do drop off and pick up at school, so the days she goes in I do that and vice versa. On a few occasions, including next week, I have been told I need to be in the office for management meetings on her day in the office. While I can easily get someone to pick up the kids from school, grandparents for example, she is mad because it's not fair to her and wants me to stick it to my company and say too bad it's my turn to pick up the kids. I don't feel like this is an option. My job is mostly flexible, but comes with the downside of if I need to be in, and I am telling my employees they need to be in for certain days, I can't just stay home for personal reasons. Ultimately, I feel like it's my responsibility how to get both things done, and if I need help I arrange it, but my wife wants me to sacrifice my day no matter what because it's not that often. Am I the jerk for going into work and getting help with picking up the kids? I'm not sure what your SO is upset about. You have methods to pick up the kids even while you're at work, and your workplace threw the schedule out there anyway. Not the jerk, but I'm kinda struggling to see her problem with all this. The issue seems resolved, and she's just trying to make one for no real reason.